So Alter Bridge's Blackbird was a turning point in Alter Bridge's career. Coming off of the first album, which was more along with the Creed vibe, which came from the members Mark Tremonti, as well as the drummer and bass player, who came from Creed and went into Alter Bridge with the new singer Miles Kennedy. The album was mostly just the same type of thing, just a new singer, and maybe a bit more technicality with the solos, but other than that it was very Creed. Now with the album Blackbird, there was a fair few changes here. Number one was they changed the sound to not be like Creed. Also, the lead singer Miles Kennedy actually played the rhythm guitar, which came about because apparently, according to Mark Tremonti, he walked past Miles Kennedy's changing room and he heard this nice guitar sound, maybe a solo of some degree, just an interlude or something like that. So he went into the room to see what it was that he was hearing, and lo and behold, it was Miles Kennedy playing the guitar. And he said he was really good, so Miles Kennedy took the role of rhythm guitarist as well as lead singer. But along with that, their songs started to get a bit more diverse. The solos became that more plentiful and that more thought-provoking. So the first track, you can hear all from the start there are two guitarists. You get Tremonti starting it with a very kind of melodic rock type of rhythm, and then Miles comes in with actually the lead that leads into the actual proper intro. He kind of eerily kind of goes over the rhythm that Tremonti starts up, and then it basically just explodes into absolute aggression. It's already basically the most aggressive thing we have heard from Mark Tremonti. It's more aggressive than anything Creed has delivered. This is the new them. When that intro explodes, the guitar work is very quick. It's a very thick sound. It's very technical, very accurate. And then as Miles comes in to do the first verse, his vocal delivery is already needing to be different to the first album, seeing that was a lot more mellow, kind of mellow rock type of vibe, in that his voice is going to be a lot more open. In this, it's a lot more direct, a lot more power probably behind the voice. And as it gets into the chorus opens up to a very catchy, very beautiful sounding chorus. It's very memorable. It's very open. The guitars give room to breathe between each note being hit. It gives it enough breathing room, along with Miles doing very brilliant soaring vocals. There's the bridge after the second chorus, which changes it up. It's a very kind of slow pace with the rhythm, and Miles singing, which after that it kind of builds back into that intro type of play that leads into the chorus, which changes it up. There is a lead over the chorus this time. It's slow, it's bright, it's a very nice sounding lead, and from there you go into the end of the song, which is usually where Tremonti actually does his solos. It's not usually after the second chorus, it's usually at the end of the songs. The solo is absolutely fantastic, the solo. It's very rhythmic based. He definitely does a lot of rhythm It has its technicalities, it has its speed, but he definitely knows feel. He definitely thinks about it. It's not a thing where he thinks about it and rushes it out. He spends his time, he feels the music, he knows where to do the changes, when not to overplay something and when you should overplay something. He definitely understands the rhythm, he definitely understands the feel of the song, and he definitely understands the ways of the guitar. As the solo starts, it's got some speed to it, it's got a bit of a bounce to it, it's not overly shreddy, it has a somewhat speed, it also has somewhat of holds and everything. In the middle, he, I believe, uses the wah pedal to give just a certain kind of tone to the middle section of the solo, and then he ends it on a bit of whammies, and then it goes into just him alone doing the sound of the intro, and then they all come in to finish the song. Bring Me to Life, the second track, is a similar sort of thing. It's heavier, it's a new tone, there's great technicality, the vocals soar. The solo, where this time round, seems to have its breaks. It does something, and then it does a bit of an interlude, and then plays on something, and then plays on something again. Brand New Start, the melodic track, the third track, is a very gorgeous song. And as I say, going melodic, it's still basically not the same as Creed. The whole system has changed here. It's very dark. It's maybe finger-picked, the guitar here, because usually when the melodic's happening, I do know Tremonti, for melodics, usually does picking. This may not be the case here, but he usually does do that with melodics. But it's a very nice warm tone. The guitar Tremonti uses is PRS. It's a very versatile guitar. He uses a very weird pickup. So he uses obviously the humbuckers. All metal guitarists pretty much use humbuckers. The coils, the Alnicos he uses is Alnico 5, but he has very big magnets, which will, because an Alnico 5 is usually more along the lines of the sounds of Orianthe, or more kind of old school metal. It's a very warm pickup. It's not articulate and sharp. It's a very warm sound, and if you put a lot of gain into it, because it's so warm, it makes it very fat. But because Tremonti uses a very big magnet, a very fat one, it gives it that tightness to it, and that's why Tremonti's sound is very diverse. Along with the obvious things of he uses a hell of a lot of equipment. He goes through multiple amps and multiple pedals, giving him a wide range of sounds. But yeah, so it's a very warm sound, Brand New Start, and quite dark maybe in tone, and it's articulate due to the magnets. Obviously we get a very low register from Miles. He has a very wide range. I don't know how much range it has, it is said. I think he has about a 4-octave range, maybe even a 5. Octave range is basically the range of what your voice can do. If you have just 1 or 2, it's not much range. It's the peak of ranges as well, so someone just having just one tone doesn't mean that they're therefore doing an octave. So Miles having about a 4 or 5 octave range means that he's nailing pretty tricky notes and pitches. and he can do multiple styles of pitch and notes perfectly fine and perfectly done. So we get the low register perfectly done, and the chorus that builds it up. It has the nice progression, which I think is always needed when you do a melodic. If you have it all the same in that low register, it can be very, very tricky to kind of keep a person hooked and entertained throughout. So because it does that build and then the voice kind of soars open, then it kind of brings it down and everything. It's very soothing, but then it has the uplifting thing, so you're not basically soothing to a point of nodding off. The solo, again, by Tremonti, a very diverse solo for him. It's an unbelievable solo. It's very, very, very bluesy. Now, Tremonti struggles usually with the blues. He is definitely a metalhead. He says he's a metalhead. He says he likes galloping, which is a technique of guitar playing. It's all the basically that, just gallops. That's what gallops are. And that's what Tremonti likes. He always listens to metal. He's not really diverse outside of that. So, in Brand New Start, doing blues, does that limit him? No, it's actually very, very good. Not just good, but brilliant. He's really good at it. And it's surprising that he doesn't do it more often. It limits his range because he holds back, which is very annoying. Very, very annoying. But it starts bluesy, it starts slow, and then he builds it up, and then it gradually builds, and then it gets to the big point where he's just soaring, and then there's shred, and then he slows down and just makes it kind of more kind of heart-aching sound. And there's so much going on, there's so much feel, there's so much diversity to the solo, the slowness of the blues, the build, you know it's coming, you're ready for it, it explodes in the hold, then he shreds in the beautiful tone that he's using and effects, and then he slows it down to a nice rhythm, and then he just very brightly kind of out, very kind of lightly done. Back into the chorus. And as he hits the chorus, there's a bit of a pull on the whammy. You hear that kind of whine from the guitar, and then he brings it back in. And then there's the few leads throughout. There's a bit of a lead at the end of the chorus, and it's just beautifully done. Track after that, there's two solos. The song starts with a solo, the song finishes on a solo. Track after that is actually our first track without a solo. Now, this is obviously disappointing because Tremonti's been doing so well with the Brand New Start solo, Ties That Bind, Come to Life. Them solos have been absolutely incredible so far, as well as the song previously. Solos have been absolutely great. Top end guitar skill of level for solos. But this song is still good, which I think is called The Uninvited. Miles obviously carries it very, very well. The tone they're using, because they're two very gifted guitarists, what they're playing in the rhythm as well as lead throughout the song, not lead solo, but it's obviously very well thought out. They know how to write a very engaging sounding song. The guitars sound great. The rhythm is brilliant. There is still technique to the song. If you see it getting played, it does look quite complex. Then you get a song after this, which is melodic, When Tomorrow Comes, something like that. You got a bit of a solo at the end. It's just a few seconds. It's pretty pants, to be honest, which is again a little disheartening, seeing how this is progressing. The song is a bit too slow. It's definitely not a Brand New Start level. The album, to me, could do without this track. Then we get Rise Today, which starts very slowly. Not melodic, it's just a slow burner, more kind of rock, we would say. And as it gets to the chorus, it's a very simple chorus lyrically. There's not much words to it, but it basically means it is very memorable. and that it is. It's a very, very memorable chorus, a very, very enjoying chorus, a very engaging chorus. The way Miles and Tremonti actually both harmonise this together, it's delivered unspectacularly well. It's really well done. And live with the audience and just the hold of the notes and with it saying we rise today. It's a very powerful chorus. The solo at the end is sung over at the beginning, and because Miles has a very kind of powerful voice and it's very piercing, it drowns out kind of what Tremonti is doing, and the solo is actually very, very good, but it's very hard to really understand it because it's very hard to concentrate because of what Miles is doing. Now, Miles is a great singer. By all means, you've had the whole song to show that. This is Tremonti's part. And for the majority of it, it's quite disappointing because it is very, very frustrating to try and get out just the sound of the solo and what's being played. And when he kind of does leave, obviously the solo, when Miles finishes, the solo is already in a certain place and it doesn't sound like it's been started because that's kind of like, okay, here we are, now I can hear it, but it's already been going on for a certain time, so it's a bit of an odd starting point, which isn't the starting point. So it's very weird when you actually do start hearing it. It's not natural, really. It's a good solo when you really pay attention, but it's very, very difficult, therefore making a good solo hindered, really. It hurts it, which is a very, very big shame. The title track, Blackbird, a very big song, very well known in Alterbridge, perhaps one of the greatest songs they've done and written. The solo of this was in a magazine as the greatest solo ever made. Obviously, this is just one magazine, so that's obviously not going to be true. But because it was said compared to others, and a lot of people do very, 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 very much like the solo, it still means that it is a good solo. So even though it was just one magazine says it's a great solo, doesn't mean, well, it's just one magazine compared to all the world, therefore it's probably not that great. No, they say it for a reason, and also all the fans and other people who may not even be a fan who listen to this song do know, if they know what they're talking about, that this solo is pretty damn amazing. The song lasts a while. It's 8 minutes, I think. It takes its time. It personally, the song is basically huge for the solo, in my opinion. That is what I get from it, because without the solo, I think the song would be pretty slow and a bit of a drag. It's still very good. It is obviously sung very, very well, and what they're playing, it sounds good and everything, but there's no real high to it. It kind of flows naturally, and for 8 minutes, at that pace, it gets a bit samey. You need a bit of a change. So the solo, I think, really kind of is this song. Now, the solo, for one, is special because it's a two-parter. This first part is actually done by Miles Kennedy, the singer. So he's not actually just doing rhythm, he's actually doing lead. So how does he really actually fare up? Well, it's a whole solo of blues. Miles Kennedy is a very bluesy, jazz-focused person. It's basically what he listens to. It's his thing. And because Tremonti is basically the metalhead, this is a great contrast. So you can get one completely new style. It's blues. And because that is completely him, you get that in what he's playing. And that is definitely the case. It's very, very blues-orientated. And because in metal that's not usually a thing, it's quite nice to see this. And as he goes and everything, doing his whole, doing the blues, it progresses and progresses, And then when Tremonti comes in with the most unbelievable saw in the world. It's wailing of a saw, and it's just absolutely huge. His entrance when he comes in, it kind of hinders actually Miles. Now I'm not saying Miles's was bad. Miles's was superb, but because when Tremonti gets in, because Miles is dun, dun, and then when Tremonti comes in, it and he just completely erupts, and it's just so huge and unbelievably grand scale eruption of how he enters. That it's just, oh Jesus, and you are so focused on what Tremonti is now going to be doing, and he is shredding, he is holding it. It's got so much heart. It's what Tremonti does on occasions. Sometimes he is there for show, but in Alter Bridge he does usually put emotion into what he's doing. But here, this is 100% emotion. You feel this solo. You seriously feel it when you hear this solo. It speaks to you. It's singing to you. You feel the emotion and the eruption, the sound, the tone. It is just absolutely superb. The speed for where he does it and when it leaves, perfect timing. How long he holds that first eruption, perfectly timed, perfectly changed. When he just does the nice kind of flowing rhythm, it's perfectly done. The perfect rhythm that it was needed. It couldn't have been anything else. And then he shreds after that. That should be there. It shouldn't be anything else. And how he ends it, that's the way it should have been ended. The whole solo, everything was perfectly timed. Everything was that came after was needed. It had to be there. Nothing should change. There is nothing that should change. It was perfect. And then it basically just gets kind of typical. Unfortunately. Now, everyone loves the Blackbird album, and I do too, to a degree. I seriously do. This first part has been amazing. As I say, them few handfuls of songs with solos were pretty great. The Uninvited didn't have a solo, but it did stand on its own. It would have been better with a solo, but it was good. When Tomorrow Comes sucks. Rise Today was a very good song, but because they sung over the solo, it did hinder that solo. And because I really like guitars, it really does mess that up in my head. Blackbird, that solo was incredible, and the rest of the song, even though it was kind of long, and I think it should have been a bit shorter, personally, was very good. So, I am having fun with this album, it's great. But from here on, they go through a fair few number of songs, and none of them have solos. Now you get a lot of metal bands who do the intro, the rhythm, the chorus, and then end. There is so many bands like that, it's impossible to count, and it's past the point of even caring. So, this is the next half of Blackbird is typical. There is nothing special to it. Miles' voice is still special, which does make it better than the rest, but it's nothing next level really. It's just, I like my typical metal, but this singer is better than them, so I hold this to a higher level. But other than that, there's nothing really that interesting. They do know how to write great riffs and everything, so the riffs are still very, 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 very good. Like White Knuckles, there's no solo in that, but it is extremely brutal, that introduction to that song. It is very fast, the two guitarists coming at it one-on-one. Very powerful. But with what we've been getting from Tremonti and how amazing it's been doing, We are so ready to hear what's coming next from him. We want it. He has got us moist waiting for this. And it just does not come. Not for a long time. Blackbird's the halfway of the album. The next solo's the end. Because you are just desperate. You are waiting, and you are waiting. And the album ends. And there's the solo. Wayward One, or Wayward Son. Wayward One? Wayward something. Solo, damn incredible. Great to end on a great solo by Tremonti. Does that make it up for it? No. You have a great guitarist. And as we know from the next few records where Miles plays more of a lead, as well as even in Blackbird, because that solo was so tasteful. You don't have one good guitarist, no. You have two brilliant guitarists. And you have been doing well thought out solos, really well thought out, engaging solos, very technical solos, very heartfelt solos. And for some reason, the last half, you don't think about it. You just don't do it. And to me, I know you can do it. I know you're good. I know you're versatile. You've done shred. You've done your blues in Brand New Start. You have Miles Kennedy, who's a very blues-orientated player. You make great riffs. You know what you're doing. You know how to do a solo. You'll know how to do a solo. I doubt you're stumped on this many songs. Therefore, is it just a case of the song doesn't need it? Is it because the song's good enough? That means if all songs are good, nothing needs a solo. It means that the songs with solos, the songs aren't good enough. They would be boring without one. This means you're insulting your own songs, your own set list, your own discography. It's ridiculous. So if that's not the case, then it's laziness. It's just you don't want to do it. Thinking about it, trying. And that winds me up beyond living hell. It really winds me up. I love listening to this album, but that second half, that grind, if it was spaced out maybe a bit, like just have 3 songs of the album without it, it'd be way more forgiving. But because it takes so long, them good songs which are solid and everything and have great riffs, I hate them because it's time until I get to my next solo. Therefore these great tracks wind me up. The Uninvited, like White Knuckles, I would say is a better song than The Uninvited, but I prefer The Uninvited because it goes from song with solo to another song with solo. White Knuckles, I've just had a massive load of nothing, and it really ruins it. Now I live in the UK, so there is a bonus track. The bonus track is a very upbeat, a very fun song. Has a solo, not one of the best, but it's a Tremonti solo. He did spend his time on it. It was very good. Along with the rhythm, it was all fun and upbeat and everything there. Very good. So there's that. But only if you're in the UK, and I'm good old British, which I hate. Because British people are complete dicks, and they're idiots. I've insulted a lot of people now. Yeah, so first half, absolutely spectacular. The second half, very good, but it makes it so hard to enjoy when you are going so long knowing that there is such greatness in guitarists, yet they are not trying. And it really winds you up. So rating this album, which a lot of people would say is maybe one of the greatest Alter Bridge albums, and has, some would argue, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, solos ever done. I'd have to give it a 7.5. It's good. It's on its way to great, because the second half is quite typical of some metal, obviously being better because they do good riffs and there is a good voice, but it's the typical setup, it's the typical layout, follows a kind of pop formula. I can't give it a great of 8. It's definitely not amazing like a 9, and it's definitely not a masterpiece of 10. Bringing them solos in, it could have even gone all the way up to a 9. Them missing solos, When Tomorrow Comes being pretty crap, really brings it down, because that second part is a drag, which is unfortunate, because them tracks, as I say, are actually good, but because you're taking the solos out and taking them out for such a long time, you really mess them up. You ruin them, basically. And Rise Today being such a good track, and then you mess up the solo, which was a great solo, but because it's been sung over, it hinders and hurts it. It's very unfortunate. So a 7.5. Definitely above average of a 6. 7, it is good. It's better than good. But it's not great. So that is Alter Bridge, Blackbird. I hope everyone enjoyed, and if you want to see more, then please subscribe. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.